Hello, everybody. It's Donna Cravata, and we are back again with another Real 50 Over 50 interview. And today I am sitting down with Erin Rogers. She's an executive and leadership coach and consultant, and she's the founder of ERA Collective. Do you say ERA or ERA?
Era.
ERA. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. ERA Collective. We were introduced a few months ago, and she has become one of my favorite people to chat up about life and business and AI and all the things. So let me tell you a little bit about Erin, and then we're just going to dive right into a conversation. She is the founder of the ERA Collective, an executive coaching and leadership development consultancy that she launched in 2024 after a 25-year corporate career as director of brand, marketing, and communications at EY Canada and country head of marketing at HSBC Canada. She spent 2 decades helping organizations navigate growth, change, and transformation, including major acquisitions where she led the human side of integration, which I can tell you from my corporate days, it's not always included. And now she works with mid to senior leaders, particularly women, on the work of becoming more visible, more influential, and more themselves. She's an ICF certified coach. Erin is known for her signature Accelerating Your Personal Brand workshop, which she has delivered for over a decade across financial and professional services firms. And she lives in Toronto with her husband and their 3 daughters. And her belief is simple leadership is a practice of becoming more yourself, not less. And yay. Welcome, Erin. I'm so excited to talk to you today and share you with everybody.
Oh, Donna, it's been such a pleasure getting to know you every time, the shits and giggles we get into, but also just learning about you. So I'm very privileged to be a part of this amazing community you've built.
Thank you. And here's Brad, who introduced us. So glad you're here today, Brad. Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. And Brad, by the way, is the only man in the Real 50 Over 50 because he has interviewed over 800 women. So
he's amazing.
He gets in.
Definition of an ally, I can tell you, is that
Yes,
Brad Walsh.
yes, he is an ally. Connect with him, please. All right, let's dive in here. So you left corporate. How hard was that, and how easy was that?
Oh boy, what a great question. You know what? It was definitely hard. It was a difficult period of my life when all of it kind of transpired. I was managing through a massive bank acquisition. I was leading all of the transformation to get us migrated over a weekend, both our clients, our commercial banking clients, and our people. It was a really hectic time. And then I crossed over to a new company and just very quickly realized that what matters to me more than anything is people and culture. Mm-hmm. And so there was a very quick sort of realization, this may not be the direction I want to go right now. And I was given, a once in a lifetime opportunity to reset, pivot, and think about what I wanted to do next. And one of the things that I'd learned after being a CMO for as long as I had been, Donna, is the stuff that was getting me up in the morning was not how much money I was making for the bank. Obviously, it was more, I really enjoyed leading people. I just really enjoyed seeing people transform their behavior, their growth, and being able to see, especially those, next generation leaders who I was, very privileged to be leading, seeing them move from being a doer to an advisor, or learning that nuance, right, of what's urgent over what's important, and that very, very fine line that's between those two. And so it was really interesting. I woke up one morning and thought, you know what? This is the time that I'm going to take coaching that I've been doing for many moons, and I'm going to certify, and I'm going to get this stuff done. Of course, that did happen at a crazy time of my life, as you well know. So I had to build this business during the most difficult time in my life, where one of my daughters, unfortunately, she was diagnosed with cancer in 2024. So at the exact same time all this is happening, my world is falling apart. And for all of our listeners and everyone on this call, she is healthy, gorgeous, amazing, going to university, so we're all good. But But it was a really, really tumultuous time in my life. And the building of that business and why I made that choice to do that while I'm caring for my daughter, and what a privilege it was to have the flexibility to care for my daughter and my other 2 daughters in my family at that time, was that what it did for me is it allowed me a little bit of a glimmer forward in life when all I could do was be present in that moment. Because frankly, what was happening was just too scary for me to look forward in. So it just gave me this propelling look forward. And so, yeah, that's why I built it. And I just really enjoy working with people and seeing people grow to their potential. And most importantly, learn the right boundaries of how to protect the fulfillment part of their life, which could be both career, personal, all those things, all of the wheel. And so being able to help people, because I've been on that journey my whole life, as have you, Donna. We were just talking about that. It's an important thing, especially for women, to define their boundary, understand what their value is at all phases of their life. And everything is constantly moving at the same time in parallel. I really want to be there as a helping hand and a listening ear and asking the right questions for women and others to be able to see their potential and to grow into their next best era, which I believe for women over 50, this is, even last year, shittiest year of my life. But at the end of the day, where I am today, I listened, I learned gifts that I never thought I'd want to open. I opened, and I feel like today is a far better era than it was before. And that's what I want everyone to do.
Started.
Right.
Wait till you hit 60.
I'm not ready yet for that, Donna, but yeah.
Well, I'm just giving you a perspective for what's to come.
Exactly. I am looking forward to it. Looking at you, I'm like, girl, I'm modeling after my friend Donna.
Yeah, it's the gifts. You said the word gifts. And I think that, well, I could say I know, because I think you're about, I don't know, I lost count, but about 155, interview 155, something like that.
Wow.
But, just having these conversations every week has really reinforced what was kind of going on in my life, is that if we're paying attention and we're open to receiving them, those gifts come to us now, because there's space for them and we can actually receive them. And at various, like, you could not have received a gift in 2024 because there was no space. And we all have those years, or maybe more than one year, where there is no space to receive. And they don't come until you can receive. And that's one of the things that I've noticed in all of these conversations. We have to pay attention.
I think there's sometimes, it's interesting. I didn't have a lot of space last year for opening up those gifts and really being able to process them. But I'll tell you something. There's never been a time in my life that I haven't learned something. And the crappiest times, I've often learned the most. And it's, as you said, it's being, as much as it may feel like you get a diagnosis that one of your kids has cancer is like the blow you never expected. But let me tell you, coming out of that was a retethering to my daughter that, I could never have anticipated. What came out of it was the drive to, I'm going to make sure that I have something that I can continue looking for, and I'm going to build my business, and I'm going to keep myself slightly preoccupied because I needed that at the time. But I think I often see, right, that you either sink or swim. Like it's that simple, right? And listen, I ain't gonna lie to you. There was some sinking moments, and there have been many in my life. We've talked about a few of them, and and gosh, we've all had them. It's how do you swim out of it? And I think that that's where I really think, and especially women, and there's so many on this call, we know how to do that well. And I'm very, so many of the community I have around me that supported me during the last year, who I built my business and I support. I am constantly in awe of women like you, Donna, who are creating space for the lessons and the learning so that I can get into my next era. Like you said it, you have like 150 of these you've done, which is like mind blowing to me. So I really want to make sure I recognize that in you. You've created a platform for women to do this. And what I like to do in my practice is create a safe space for women to be able to process the moments that have been painful and to see how they can learn and build from it and become even greater. And I think that's where I get my joy every single day.
Yeah. So now, how much of that? Well, first, the first question I have is: do you primarily work with women in corporate and structured environments, or do you work with more entrepreneurial women?
Kind of, I would say, 80-20.
Mhm.
I'd love to be working with more founders. I've spent years of my career working with entrepreneurs through
Mhm.
EY. EY is a massive supporter of entrepreneurs and women especially. But it's mostly corporate. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's in more, those sort of one-to-one coaching, structured, 10 sessions kind of thing. And a lot of what I work with is at the pipeline. One is the next gen. So where I spend a lot of my time, or, a woman who has just come back from maternity leave. And she's now either stagnant, which sadly happens in Canada here, as you well know. We get a good 18-month leave, which is
Oh my
absolutely,
God.
I
We
know,
get 10 minutes.
I know. I have so many of my beautiful American friends where I'm like, oh, it wrenches my heart. But we have the most amazing benefit with that and the support of our government. But there's also, that's a challenge too. You come out of the workforce for 18 months in this
Yeah.
environment, the world
Yeah.
has
Yeah.
shifted,
It's a whole other planet when you come back.
a whole other planet. And
And
so,
the people aren't even there because people don't stay in jobs like they used to.
oh my
So you're
God,
coming back and like the people that you know aren't even there. So there's no like comfortable person to kind of attach to.
there often isn't, as you say. And I would also say that Canadian companies, and I would say globally, because I've been part of global organizations, we do such a good job, and some good job is to a definition for onboarding new employees, right? We have this system, we have a process of engaging them and loving them up in the first 3 months to get them to stay. And then what we do with women who've gone for a mat leave, however long, they come back in parental leave. Let me say this isn't just this is for parents, not just mothers, but they come back and it's like up to them to just figure it out. And part of what I try to do, and I have worked with, I've been lucky to be onboarded to help onboarding with women that have come back from maternity leave. And some of my clients sit in that base. And what I try to do, and a big prop to companies who hire me to do this work, which is if you want to get that woman who was a high potential when she left 18 months ago, you want to get her up and running, you want her to be, reintegrating back into the accountabilities of her job, the
Mm,
leadership of the people, give her a coach. And let me
yeah.
tell you, I will be with her for 6 months and we will get her productive, strategically, integrated where she needs to be a heck of a lot quicker with that support. But what it comes down to is communication. A lot of
Yeah.
times when women leave the workforce for whatever reason, there's no communication to clarify, okay, how do you want to engage during that 18 months or don't you? So a lot
Mhm.
of the work that I do centers around that kind of onboarding. It's around women who've grown in their people leadership, which, we've talked about it. There's, I think the biggest trip up when you're a next gen and you're growing your people leadership and your accountabilities in corporate, do you know how to read the room? What are you
Mhm.
sensing? How are you reading using your emotional intelligence, which women have so much of usually that we can unlock? But how are you stepping into new shoes and you're stepping into the balcony, which is a lot of times, Donna, you know this, from sitting in the ground floor and doing and associating that value to the doing versus the thinking and showing how you think and building the relationships and supporting decisioning, not making the decision. And how do you do that is such a massive transition for people. I've been there and I'm so blessed. I had the same coach for 12 years.
Yeah.
She continues to be a mentor to me. I'm so blessed. Sophie, big round of applause for Sophie. She's amazing.
So now
So
I have a follow-up question.
please.
Um, is it primarily companies that hire you, or are women hiring you individually?
It's a mix of both. It's mostly women who are initiating and they're backed by their company. And then sometimes it's companies. Yeah. I will say though, we're getting into it. AI is playing a huge role disrupting the individual coaching that we do today. I've heard a few big professional services companies have taken all the coaching to a senior manager who might be ready for partner and are thinking about putting that into an AI platform. You and I both know too many people are probably using ChatGPT as their therapist. It's really evolving and impacting. But the human element of other work that I do is where you bring groups together. A big challenge that I see within women and within, companies and groups right now is the disconnectedness and the lack of collaboration. So I do spend a lot of my time, working with, groups that may not, in fact, naturally have the same agenda, but putting them together in a small room, there's nowhere to hide, but there's all the places to be seen. So I do spend a lot of time in small groups as well, facilitating that.
That's great. And let's talk about culture a little bit, because, there's a couple of scenarios going on here. One, it's lacking in a lot of places, just in general. AI is changing the way culture happens. Having 5 or sometimes 6 generations in a workspace changes how culture happens. So how does that, how do you help make culture a mainstay when things are moving so fast in every direction? People, technology, infrastructure, it's all changing faster than we can keep up. So how does culture root that?
That is such a big, meaty one. Listen, here's the only thing that makes sense to me when it comes to building cultures. And I've been part of some amazing cultures, and I've been part of some not so amazing cultures. Culture really is actions and words are the same. It's that simple to me. And so when I'm in, I also do some work, as you well know, fractionally as a CMO for some companies, et cetera. A lot of what they're struggling and grappling with is from a B2B perspective, when your, brand is the people that are out in the market. How do you get those people aligned and engaged in your culture? Well, I can tell you, if you're saying one thing and doing another, then you're going to lose trust and your culture dissipates. I mean, that's the simple thing. So if I'm, advising leadership on how to build culture, stop saying one thing and doing another. And that, I know, is the most simplistic statement, but it's really not that difficult. So don't say it if you can't action it. And if you say it, stand beside it and do something. And as leaders, we all know, right? That's what you're looking for. You're looking for, yes, we want to hear the right things, but we want to see that they're actioning against those words. And too many times I've seen that fall down. The other thing too, and you know communications and storytelling a heck of a lot more than even I do. What I would say about it is storytelling is so important. We know that communications, do they work? No. I mean, learning, for example, if you sit in learning now, no one pays for travel to put people in the same room anymore, not here at least. We rely on Zoom rooms, and we put, hundreds of people in one and expect them to stay engaged. No, doesn't happen. I will not work on a single learning platform unless it's 6 to 8 people in a room. That's it. That's my sort of my rule of thumb. Because number one, we are so disengaged from everything because we're so distracted. And so part of what I really push is stop communicating, or at least stop writing emails and Slack messaging and Teams messaging and relying on printed word, which I love. But when you're trying to build culture, it's about engagement. And I always joke about this at EY. When we had to, we had a new strategy, or we had a new brand identity or something that needed that launch, I'm like, communication cascade, bleh. Give me a town hall. Let's rent an opera house. Let's make it storytelling. Let's make it fun. Let's make it vibrant and moment building. Because if you don't do that,
that's the buy-in point. You have to get the buy-in point first.
100%. But then, by the way, you do that, and then the next day, your leaders don't stand up those words. Yeah. You're dead in the water. It's all.
But that's the problem. Is that it's been a while since I've been in corporate, but I've got an imagination.
Corporate girl,
But internally, the teams are not on the same page.
Yeah.
So this is where
Mhm.
like your everybody is like, you know, saying that their actions and their words match. But how do
Mhm.
you do that in a company where they cannot do like they're not communicating internally and the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing? So
Yeah.
that becomes a simple, not easy
No.
process
It,
because you can't get these two people to agree. I mean, where I worked, I mean, it was like, the Hatfields and the McCoys. There were people that had worked there for so
yeah.
long that had so many, like,
Yeah.
just, battles from like that what they were fighting about something that happened 20 years ago. And it's like, shut up, move past it. This
That
doesn't
still
matter.
exists. That's in a lot of boardrooms. That hasn't changed, Donna. Let me tell you.
I am 100% sure it has not changed.
That's
Um, but like, how do you all right, this is where I'm seeing, like, in my head, because I'm not in that space anymore, but I
mm,
imagine, like, what people are going through. Like, you still have that going on,
yeah.
but now you have people that are anywhere between their early 20s to late
Mm,
30s that
yeah.
just don't operate like that.
No.
And how do you communicate to them that this is a worthwhile,
Mm.
company for you to be investing your time and your career in? I mean, because that's the culture right there.
It really is. You know what? Here's what I would say. To what you said about there's always going to be factions. There's always one person who's not buying what you're selling, no matter whether your actions and words align. There's always that. Embrace that person. And I'll tell you, when we've had massive change. So, for example, moving from a massive bank acquisition into a new bank, part of what I had to really lead is we got to get the naysayers. I got to get the guy in the corner who's like rolling his eyes every time we talk about this and isn't coming to the show and doesn't buy any of it. I got to prove that if I can get him through the change and I
Mhm,
can get him bought into culture and he is got profile and he's known for not being the one who's easiest, if I can get him, then I can get others. And so part of what I've often implemented when we go through these massive changes, build a champion program. It sounds really
mhm,
simple and practical, but
mhm,
you know what? I don't want in my champion program, I'm not looking for all of the leaders that are out there going, pick me, pick me. I'm not looking for them. I'm
mhm.
looking for the ones that are hiding in the corner who are going, F you. I don't
Yeah,
buy any of this, right? So part of it is finding that mix of a group of people internally who you can engage differently. You can have more intimate conversations. You can make them accountable. You can have safe conversations to say, ask the questions that you don't want to ask, but I'm here. And
mhm,
that does come down to good leadership.
yeah,
I've been so blessed with some amazing leaders that I've been able to learn from. And the best of them have brought honesty, vulnerability, who have said, I don't know, who have also sat in a boardroom and asked all of the people, not just their favorites, to opine and ask for opinions. I've worked for a woman named Trisha Weiner, who I'm calling out, who's one of the most amazing marketing leaders I've ever worked for. She currently works for Linklater. She's a massive BD and CMO. She's just incredible. But I used to watch her in a room and I was amazed at how she could create a safe environment to have conflict. Never seen anyone do that like that before.
mm,
What she did was she modeled, right? She would gently and kindly, with respect, ask questions in a more challenging way to someone in her team. And that immediately taught me safety in the way that she responded and how they were able to gently spar and that was acceptable. So, it's creating that safety, it's identifying the people that you really need to individually move through the change to
mhm.
becoming part of your cultural advocates who can be the representatives and then influence others.
I love that. Now, how does that translate into the founder side of things?
Mm.
Is it the same process, just scaled back, or is there some other things that need to be added or removed?
You know what? I think with founders, especially high growth founders, what happens, there's a lot of parallels, right? You see a founder who's gone from doing to having to let go the reins of the business. You have, founding companies that have grown so quickly that they lose sight of culture. And you see that all the time, whether it's through, whether they've gone public, whether they've just grown across the pond, whatever they've done. You lose sight of what your values are and how you want people to show up, how you want to recruit, how you want to retain people. If you lose sight of the people agenda as you're growing, then that is a pretty big recipe for disaster. So again, what does that come down to? Actions and words align, and staying true to that as you grow. And as a founder, look, you go from being a founder who had this in your basement to multiple hundreds of people that are now looking to you. And how have you been coached to grow through that process as a leader? Because being a founder and a leader of a company at a different growth stage is a very different look and feel. So I would say tons of different, parallels with that group. I would say the companies that are growing at that pace, part of the challenge with them is retention of talent and acquiring talent. Because I don't know about you, in Canada, startups are pretty risky. I have tons of clients. I have one who's been shifted through 3 startups because their financial viability was not there. And so they're left out on the street going, what the heck happened? No. It's not a stable environment, especially that startup community. It can be very tricky. So going in with eyes wide open, and also that's where engagement versus communications comes to building culture. Some startups have a culture, but you got to hang on to that. You can't lose it.
Let's talk about engagement versus communication. I love that.
Oh, it's my favorite thing to do. It's the difference between getting a staff or a person on your team to buy in and understand and get their attention versus a lazy communication that came through Slack that no one listens to. And so, listen, I'm in communications. I get it. There are lots of channels you just have to permeate. I get it, because if you hit them 15 times, they might get it. But when it comes to the big stuff, Donna, like when it comes to strategic change, which we see, I got to tell you, I've worked for companies where they change their strategy like their underwear. I hate to say it. So you're constantly changing. So like every 6 months, something new is needed to be embedded into the psyche of the people who are out there brand ambassadoring for you, who are selling for you, who are in there having, leading for you. And so you really do have to just, take the time, right? You got to get them in a room. And this is where I know big companies, I've worked for them globally, get them on a plane, which I don't love either, because there's all sorts of other things environmental that bothers me about that. But we've lost the art. You and I grew up in a time where I would get flown to London. I get flown to Hong Kong. And part of that, what was that about? Yes, they jam you into meetings every 5 minutes and you'd be exhausted by the end. But what did it do? You went bowling with your colleagues.
Oh my goodness. I used to train globally. So like on financial applications and marketing applications. And it was pretty much the first round of this because it was in the 1990s. So it was all very scary, particularly in countries where English wasn't the first language, and the New York office felt so very far away. But the trust. This is a funny example, but I spent a lot of time in our German offices. And
fun.
Both of my brothers loved this German shaving cream that I used to bring back for them. And there was a woman in our Frankfurt office that every 3 months, she would send me a supply of shaving cream from my brothers for years. That doesn't happen in Zoom.
No, but this is what I'm saying, right? Like the thing that the art of rapport building. Let me tell you, I used to fight to get my Quebec team into my Toronto team because guess what? They operated entirely different. Quebec ran at a tactic every time, whereas Toronto strategy, spent way too much time. I put them in a room, and by the way, they just got to know each other on a personal level. We work together, high performing in such a different way because pure and simple, when you can build those relationships and trust in person, ideally, then it's so much more impactful. I really believe that.
Yeah, I launched the virtual training environment when I was there. But what we did was we created hubs.
Yeah.
So like we had a hub in
Smart.
the UK, and we had one in France,
Yes.
and we had one
Love it.
in Abu Dhabi, and we had one in South America, and we had one in California, and we had one in New York,
Yeah.
and we had one in Asia. And the people from like the 4 offices in Asia got to know each other, and
Yes.
the 7 or 8 offices in Europe got to know each other. And just that alone, it kind of fixed both issues, because it was not the expense or the
Yeah.
time issue with having people travel all to New York,
Yeah.
and they really got to know each other. And like, for people from the Paris and London office to do things together was super easy, because they could just take a train,
Well, and it's part of, Donna, it's part about being in an environment like Germany, or like when I've gotten to go to London and worked with my UK colleagues, that cultural nuance is, you don't get it until you're there. And
Yeah.
so being able to put people in, like, I am a big believer in secondments.
Mhm.
I've brought people from the UK to work in Toronto for periods of time. Like HSBC was brilliant for that. They would
Mhm.
move people around. And so that, not only did that bring such an amazing learning into my team, but that person who got to come in got such a different experience of being in a region, right, versus being in the mothership. So I think engagement is 100% about relationships and trust and building understanding of different cultures. That's what makes collaboration easier.
Yeah. Such a great conversation.
Oh, I wish we could do this every single day.
Okay, so now we're already at a half an hour, but I'm not done yet. How does AI, because I know you love AI,
I do.
how does AI, like, how are people using it right, and how are people using it wrong, I guess, is the more direct way to ask the question.
So I'll say it this way. I think young people, like my 20-year-old daughter who just started a bank internship, they've been scolded about not using it. So there's this absolute reticence, which rightly so. I need her brain developing. I get it. I think for women in our prime, which I say our prime because we are in our prime, I see so many women particularly not using it. I literally have weekly coffees with different women in my vintage, and they're not using it. And I think part of the reason is you're thinking about this as a technology. You and I've talked about this, and you are an amazing example of someone who has embraced the hell out of this. What I'm finding is if you're in your 50s, you're like, I'm 5 years, 10 years out, like, you know what? I can just ignore this. It's going to go away. This is not a technology. This
No.
is not a new technology. This is a new way of working.
No.
Full stop. So I use it for everything. I use it to prep for this. I use it for anytime I'm going to meet a new prospect or a company. I do my new business proposals. I lift and shift. I get Claude. I'm a huge Claude fan. Claude is my absolute strategic partner. It is someone who, look, I'm a sole proprietor like you. Like there ain't no team behind me. I used to have 35 to 50 people who could do this stuff. I don't have that anymore. So to get to the speed to market that I need to be in and to build my business, I need someone who, as long as I feed the crap out of it and I give it all of my thinking, and I tell it everything in both personally and professionally. I, number one, find that it is such a game changer when it comes to the work I do. It's giving me amazing facilitation ideas, ways of doing work differently. And so it's a partner and brainstorm partners, all those things. What I would say to you, my prompts. So I got to tell you, I work damn hard, and you and I've talked about this. My prompts and what I'm proud of is you put me up against the 35-year-old nipping at my heels when I was in marketing, and let's say we had a growth challenge and we had to put together a prompt. My prompt is going to kick ass compared to that 35-year-old's prompt, because my prompt is bringing 25 years into this tool, right? Hallelujah.
One of my favorite topics is when wisdom meets AI.
It's a powerful machine. It's insane.
It is so powerful, and this is one of the things that could get me, going for days, is that people just view it as a productivity tool.
100%.
And it's such a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
The thing that I'm going to start talking about very soon
Please.
is, the combination of AI and Substack,
Oh, yeah.
and that being my retirement plan.
that's going to be me watching you wherever you're talking
That's
about that.
exactly what I that's exactly what I that's exactly what I'm
Yep.
doing. I want people to watch me. I want people to follow me because I'm really good at digging under the
Yeah.
surface and figuring out what really matters and putting it together in ways that other people don't think of. And that's what I'm doing. And it wakes me up in the middle of the night because there's possibility that I have not
Endless,
seen in 10 years.
endless, endless. And I'm going to
And,
watch you do all of that.
and to go back to where we started, the gift in all of this, because there is such a gift for women our age.
100%.
We weren't expecting this.
No, we weren't. We weren't expecting this. And you know what? Finally, our experience, instead of the women that are hiding their neck when they go to an interview because of fear of ageism, which is alive and well,
It
sadly.
is, yeah.
AI, and this is where one of my amazing mentors, Sherry Pedersen-Adjmani, and I did a great conversation about this recently. What she said is, listen, do not hide your prime. Do not hide. Be open. I got 10 more years of good in me, so hire me. And by the way, I use AI, and here's how I use it. And to my example of put me next to some 35-year-old and you watch me work, I will prompt the hell out of this and I will get you an incredible strategy using my AI partner. And so embrace it, but don't ignore it. And by the way, like we women who multitask, it's a game changer. I'm literally planning a trip to Greece. It's done while I'm making a stew. Like and it's thinking for me while I'm trying to do other things. And number one, be a mom, which is my number one priority.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's how you use it. It's so much more than a tool. I mean, just this morning, I like figured out some traffic violation stuff for my son.
Heck yeah, it could be your best lawyer if needed. Right?
Just so many things, but please, please, please don't just think it's saving you a little time. It will always save you time because you just have access to things you never had access to before.
Yeah. I'm so with you. And I got to tell you, even today, even what I learn, and even from a medical perspective, look at Sherry. Hi, Sherry. Oh my God. This is my mentor coach. Anyone hit this woman up. She's amazing, especially if you're trying to get certified as a coach, Sherry. It is one of those things, right, where we could sit back and just let this happen, but it's an avalanche. I say it to my 20-year-old the same way I say it to my 55-year-old client. I'm like, why are you I'll sit beside them and I'll just, ask a question. And then I'll say, a week later, I want you to come back to me. I want to know what you fed it. And I want to know how much smarter it's getting. And again, Claude for me is my favorite. I'm using all of it. Claude Cowork, Claude, Code, and Claude itself. I know we've talked about our fanship.
Yeah, I go back and forth between Claude and Perplexity.
Yes, I know. Yeah,
those are my go-tos. And what was I just going to say now? Oh, it fell out of my brain.
That happens. On a daily.
I mean, it's just been like what used to take me 5 or 6 weeks to do, I can do in 5 or 6 hours and better.
I know. And listen, the other thing back to our young people. So I had a conversation with my 20-year-old and she's doing the summer internship at a bank. And I said to her, like, she was complaining about the fact that I kept asking her questions. So are you using AI and how is it? And big banks are slow to use AI because of privacy data. I get it. But I said to her, okay, you got 4 months. In that period of time, 75% of the work that you're doing today will be gone. It will be gone in 18 months. Like she's doing analyst work. She's creating presentations. I'm like, Claude can build a PowerPoint for me in 5 minutes. So what I said to her was, because our young people, I want them to have viable careers. I understand the worry and the challenge. So what I said to her is, okay, then if you're not over caffeinated by the end of the week, meaning you've had coffees, you've networked, you're building your brand, you are intentionally meeting new people, and you are getting sticky because they're going to go, Erin Rogers, we love you. You're amazing. And, we think you bring great energy and you're a great thinker. And we can, even if that work goes away, we'll find new work for you.
Exactly, because they're looking for the person.
Right. The
They're
human
looking for
still
the
matters
person
in
that
that.
has the
Yes.
skills that AI doesn't have, and that's why storytelling, I mean,
Oh,
storytelling, companies are paying up to $400,000 a year for roles in storytelling because they have a bunch of people that don't know how to do this.
oh God, yes. That's an art. That is an art. What you do, what I've heard others on your, on this platform do, storytelling is not going away. It's just
No.
going to be better and enhanced. But we need humans to tell those stories and humans to pull out the
Yes.
stories from other humans, which is what you
That's
do so well.
that's the part that people aren't doing. They're following frameworks, but they're not excavating their own stories.
Yes.
And that's the thing. That's just another gift. I mean, how many stories do we have?
Right. You have millions what you have unlocked with the women in the community you have built. It's an
Well,
absolute.
here's what I did, okay? I took the transcripts of 145 interviews in 18 panels, and I uploaded them into Google Notebook LM, which is a closed AI environment, so it's not pulling anything externally. And then I started asking questions. I asked it first to create a data table with the names of all of the interviewees and the wisdom bomb, which is something I'm going to ask you to provide in a moment or two. But it's something that I ask at the end of every interview, provide something short and actionable that, people can take with them. So it gave me the two columns, and then it gave me a third column and told me that, well, the wisdom bombs were okay, but they were a little performative. So the good stuff happens in the middle of the interview. So I pulled information from the middle of every interview. I didn't ask for that. All
Interesting.
right. And then I said, okay, tell me how many topics we talked about throughout the interviews. 374 topics. So now I have a list of 374 topics that women over 50 care about.
Oh,
How's that for keyword research?
oh my God. People should be buying that from you. Like, that's incredible. It's
Yeah.
incredible.
So then I asked for the top 10. It
Mm.
gives me the top 10, and then it gives me another column. It said, okay, I created another column for you that I thought would be useful, which is how many people spoke about more than one of these 374 topics.
So cool.
And then I asked for a list of the obscure and kind of weird things that we discussed.
Let me sum it back. If you need
I had all of that in 15 minutes of back and forth.
It's incredible. That's incredible.
I mean, just that one spreadsheet alone is enough. There's enough there for me to create content for the rest of my life.
And just imagine how many data analysts you needed.
Oh my
2
God.
years
Like I could never
2
do
years
this
ago.
before. I would look at all of this stuff that I have and I'd be like, what do I even do with it?
Exactly.
But now that one spreadsheet is going to build this into a media platform on Substack.
It absolutely will. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm done.
In 15 minutes.
Exactly. With no other people other than Donna.
From a free tool.
Exactly.
Boom, boom. Okay. Now for your wisdom bomb.
Oh my gosh, what is my wisdom
Well,
bomb?
you've dropped like 45 minutes worth, so
Jesus.
pick something.
Oh, woman, thank you for that. You know what? Here's what I would say to everybody on this call. Look, we are a powerful engine and a powerful resource, and so much of society asks us to shrink. And we didn't even get into it, but I know we've had lots of beautiful topics around menopause. But we shrink. We have, the ageism is alive. All of these different factors when you turn 50 are against us.
Yeah.
And it's hard. No one's going to say it's not hard. But here's what I would say. You are in your prime. You have vast experience, whether that's in a corporate or founding. I was early 50s when I started my business. And let me tell you, that took a lot. And I was going through craziness in my personal life, as I said. There is always a lesson, is what I would say, if you're open to receiving it, and in the hardest times and in the best times. So if you're staying curious, if you are able to open the gift and learn from it, then what comes next is going to be even better than what it is today. And I know that sounds very much positive thinking, but I am a positive optimist. I can't help it. That's who I'm made of. I don't have a way of being other. But what I can say is bring that positive lens to the change you're going through and learn from it. Advocate for yourself, which is not easy for women to do. Try it, advocate, and be brave sooner. That's the last thing I would say. You know, look, I should have done this, Donna, a long while ago, but it took me into my early 50s to really get it figured out. And so I would say be brave earlier and surround yourself with beautiful humans like Donna and others that have popped up on this call to give you the support you need to be brave.
Okay, so your wisdom bomb is be brave sooner.
100%. Be brave sooner. Done and done.
Everybody, please connect with Erin. She
Everybody.
is amazing. She's doing incredible work in and outside of corporate, and it's just a pleasure to know you.
Donna, it is a pleasure. I am so glad Brad connected us, and I am going to be watching you as my role model on all of this. So keep doing what you're doing. This platform is going to be what it is today and what it will be tomorrow, which is a platform of safe space for women to tell their stories, and you do that beautifully. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And if you have questions, comments, ideas, tag us. We'll come back. We'll keep this conversation going, and we will be back next week with more. And we've got interviews booked, I think, all the way until November. So we got lots of people coming your way. Please come back and join us on Substack too, if you're not already there. And lots more to come. Have a great rest of your Wednesday, everyone.